Hello, 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 Instagram. How are you? How are you today? We are going to be answering your self-publishing questions. So thank you so much to everybody, first of all, that left questions for me in my stories or on my post from the other day. Thank you guys, that was very helpful. And we're just gonna kind of hop right into it. If you guys missed part of this for any reason, I am going to have this saved onto my profile afterwards, so keep an eye out for that. It'll be on my IGTV and just on my feed there. Just a hidden soul. Nice hair, thank you so much. Just having some fun with my hair and doing some different things today. Trying to enjoy my time. Even though I'm stuck inside, I can still be cute, so I appreciate it. Thank you. So as far as questions, we had a few themes. I got a few of the same questions, so I want to focus on those a little bit more than the others, just because it seems like that's definitely something, a big one that people are very interested in. But we will start with the first one, and I'm going to say everybody's names. I hope that's okay to shout you guys out. Little Dove Crystals asked me, and my notes are over here, but she asked me, if you can self-publish, or if you do self-publish, can you still get in front of a publishing company for your book, or get your book published traditionally? Is that something that you should aim to do? So part of the first one, I would say yes. The easy answer is yes. If you self-publish, you can eventually get your book traditionally published. But is that something you should aim to do? I don't think so. I would say no to that part. I did a little bit of diving deeper into this morning, and it's definitely possible, but I would say that with anything, there's going to be a chance. There's always going to be a chance. You'll find publishers and agents that will roll their eyes and be really annoyed that you're even bringing it up. And then there are going to be others that, depending on what your book sales were, depending on your marketing and how it's going, they would still take your book. So I think it all depends on what your goals in the end are. If you only care about being traditionally published, if that's your goal, if your goal is to be traditionally published, I would just wait and go for the traditional publisher. It might take a long time. It's not the most pleasant process of going through all the querying and everything. But if your goal is to get traditionally published, then I would just wait and take the time to do it the right way and go with that. But if your goal is to have your book out there and be an author and make a business, then go for the tradition, or for self-publishing. Sorry. And for you guys leaving some questions in my comments here, I will get to those. Well, maybe I guess I should just go with these right now and just sprinkle them in before the ones that I have written down. So I hope that kind of answers that. I think it's definitely possible. One of my favorite examples of someone who went self-publishing and then they were picked up by a traditional publisher is Gala Darling. She's a self-help guru kind of person. So her stuff is nonfiction, so it might be a little bit different. But she put out her first book, Radical Self-Love, by herself. And then it was later on picked up by Hay House. So that is a really great example of when it worked really well. But the caveat, so to speak, is that Gala Darling, she had a really successful long-running blog before then, and the sales of Radical Self-Love, her book, were really great. So in my research, I found that they want you to have at least 5,000 to 10,000 sales in your first year to just show that the book did really well, and they might take that and do, you know, a second edition. But there's going to be changes. They might end up changing a lot of things from your self-published version to their traditionally published version. So it won't necessarily be the same book. In fact, it'll probably be as different as they can make it because they want it, you know, to be something new and special. And I think when Hay House picked up Gala Darling's book, they ended up doing a wider distribution and translations and stuff like that. So depending on what your book is, it might have a greater success of going from self-published to traditional publishing. If it's a nonfiction, self-help kind of thing, it could be picked up internationally. You could get translations. So there's a lot to consider with, what kind of book it is. If it's a book series, I would say no, either wait or publish them all yourself. It definitely depends on what kind of book it is and what your end goal is, and what the sales are in the first year. If you think that you can self-publish and sell 10,000 copies in your first year, then why not self-publish? But if you also think it's that good, maybe wait. It really depends. That's a tough one to ask. But easy answer, yes, it is possible to self-publish and then end up getting picked up by a traditional publisher. So we have some comments in here, and thank you guys for joining me. Moose and Goose Books says, what are the main challenges you have had to get your book published? And would you recommend an agent or go it alone? I would say for the challenges is that, I guess I don't know if you're asking for traditional publishing or self-publishing, but traditionally the main challenges are finding that agent. It's just a long process, the querying process and doing all that. You get a lot of automated responses, which is really disheartening. And you get all these rejections, and it can be a long process. So that I would say is very challenging. And then would you recommend an agent or go it alone? Again, it depends on your goals. If you are looking to traditionally publish, definitely you're going to want an agent. I guess that's the main way to get through to publishers. You can definitely try and reach out to publishers yourself, but definitely would recommend getting an agent and really taking the time to make your manuscript as perfect as possible, and then finding an agent that you really click with and really cares about you and your stories and that. So yes, agent. If you're doing traditional, that is the way to go. But if you're self-publishing, you don't really need the agent. You can definitely do everything yourself. You could benefit from getting help on social media and different, freelancers in that regard of marketing and website design and stuff like that. But you don't need an agent if you're just self-publishing. Hello to everybody else that has joined. Thank you so much for joining me today. Next question. I'm just gonna roll with them. So my next question was from Olivier Laurent, and I hope I'm saying that right. Can you explain how royalties work for authors? And this is another one. All of these are kind of like, it depends. There's multiple answers for all of these questions. It's not a very cut and dry industry. You're welcome, Moose and Goose. I appreciate your question. So it depends on what he means. He didn't say if it was traditional or self-publishing. So when it's traditional, how royalties typically work is that if you get chosen by a traditional publisher, they're going to pay you a set amount, your advance, for the rights to your book. So they're paying you, let's say $10,000 is like a good average, low-ish amount. So they pay you that, and then basically your book has to sell $10,000 worth of books again. So you pay back the publisher on your advance, essentially, through the book sales. So they sell $10,000 worth of books, and then after that $10,000, you start to get royalties after that. So that might take a year, that might take more than that, that might never happen, and then your book gets frozen, which is a downfall of the traditional publishing world. But I don't think it happens that often, but it's definitely has happened, and it's definitely a concern. As far as self-publishing, royalties are a little bit simpler. It depends on what site you go through for the exact amount, but usually self-publishing sites don't take too much. I would say they don't take more than 60% of the overall price of your book. And it changes. I mean, if it's print and an ebook, it's a little bit different. On Amazon, when you're doing an ebook, you can set the royalties to different amounts, which is kind of an interesting way that they have that set up. You can earn 70% of the sale, or you can earn 35% of the sale, and that changes like basically what you can set the price at. So it's kind of a lot for me to go into in just a live without showing like screenshots and how it works, but essentially it's different for every site. But usually with self-publishing, you can get a higher amount of royalties, and you're getting royalties from day one versus having to essentially pay back a publisher on your advance through your sales. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that answers your question. And then if you're just doing it even more the DIY way, which is like you buy a bunch of the physical copies and you sell them individually at an event or, you know, somehow to bookstores, something like that, the royalties are really kind of whatever you want them to be at that point. It's whatever you end up, you know, pricing your book at. Then we have, and this next question actually came up twice. So Ariku Bang Bang, she asked what or how much does self-publishing cost? And I also got that question from Yenica De Roy 666. They both asked, how much does self-publishing cost? So again, not an easy answer, not an easy question. It can vary so wildly. So I have to drink some coffee first before I get into this one. But on the low end, self-publishing, you could DIY the whole thing and it be totally free. You don't have to pay any money to self-publish. If you just want to get your book out there, get your story done and out onto Amazon or a couple other websites, you can do it for free. And there's a few ways to do that. So the cover, so some of the main costs would be from the cover, the editing, formatting, getting it printed. But if you want to do that for free, there's ways like Canva is a graphics sort of website that I use for a lot of my social media. They have templates for everything, and they do have book covers on there. So you can get a book cover done in Canva. GIMP is another photo editing program that is free to use. It's sort of like a Photoshop competitor, free version of Photoshop. Cover Creator is a program available from Amazon KDP, and I haven't tried it. I don't know how great it is, but if you just work on KDP, that's in their resources. So KDP actually has a lot of resources for authors and telling you like how to format your books and make a good cover and stuff like that. Then as far as the editing and writing process, you could do that for free with Google Docs. If you just have a friend that you trust or a group of friends or someone that would want to edit it and help you with the, you know, some beta reads and just reviews and stuff like that, you can get a little team together that would probably help you for free. And then again, KDP, you can put up a book there for free. They give you a free ISBN. Even the print copies, you can put it up for free, and then you would just have to pay, if you wanted print copies sent to you, you have to pay the cost of the books, of course. Wattpad is another good option. That is a free, just like ebook kind of site. And you can, you know, put up stories chapter by chapter or put up the whole thing, and that's just like a free book, I don't know, app. I'm just sort of getting into using that myself to read some stories, but it seems really fun, and that's a really good readership. So that's not, I don't know if that is considered self-publishing or just like putting a story out on the internet, but you can definitely do it for free. But I did also get together a little estimate of if you wanted to put together a moderately to very professional self-published book, I would say it would be around $1,000 is like a generous estimate. And I got that from estimating, let's say you get your cover art done by somebody on Fiverr. That's about $100. You could find somebody. Editing, another $150. Formatting, $100. Purchasing your own ISBN is $125. Programs like Word or Adobe Photoshop, which I use a lot, add up to maybe $20, $25. Getting your printed copies and advanced reader copies, sorry, my cat's like crawling all over me, maybe $100, and that really depends on how many you want to order, but that would be a decent shipment, would be 100 books or $100 worth of the books, and sending that out, shipping and stuff like that. And advertising, this one I kind of added a lot to, $200 for advertising, and that's through different ads and websites where you can market your book. And then I just estimated another $200 for random marketing materials, like you could get bookmarks, postcards, other marketing, you know, your shipping materials, maybe designing graphics. So I estimated about $1,000 would get you a very professionally well done self-published book. And that's for the whole campaign. So that includes the advertising and getting books sent out to advanced readers. And like I said, you can do this anywhere from completely free to $1,000. And then if you want to really go crazy, it's sky's the limit for the rest of it. There's a whole ton of businesses out there, editors, cover creators. Stop it, I'm under attack. And most of the larger publishing houses, or I guess they're called like hybrid publishers nowadays, is a very popular thing. That's kind of what I do, or that's what I'm evolving into, is being a sort of a hybrid publisher, which is essentially you retain the rights to your book, but I would help you, you know, put the book together and market it and get it out there for you, but you retain the rights. So I don't make money after the fact, you make the rest of the money. So that's sort of what a hybrid publisher is. And then there's other, you know, they'll just do the editing and different services, and you could find all this through Fiverr or whatever. But some of the higher end companies that do these sort of self-publishing packages probably at least start at $1,000. And then you could also consider, there's a lot of courses out there that will help you learn the process, and those would probably be, you know, at least a couple $100 to sky's the limit again. So hope that answers that question. Again, none of these are really cut and dry. They can all super vary from one thing to another. But I would say a moderate estimate would be free to a decent $1,000 to get your book self-published and looking really good and professional. Next question was from Daniel Frank Writing, and I also got a similar question from Morality and Horror. They both said, what do you do with your first draft of the manuscript? Or he said, I'm getting really close to finishing my first draft. What next? I would say around this stage, you're going to want to start getting beta readers and some early reviews, and start with the editing process with those reviewers. So there's different options with this. Again, if you're going the free route, you can just find a really super smart, well-read, excellent writer friend who will edit for you and read the book for free. Or you can go through a couple different services. There's editors, a million of them out there to find. And the beta readers, I think, are really important at this first draft stage, because you want to really get a sense of like what's missing from your book, what you need to add, and what readers want to see more of. Like maybe there's something that you touch on that on the side of like an actual reader, because it's a little bit different, I guess, between like a reader and an editor. Editor is just going to be looking for, you know, grammar, spelling, punctuation, and there are different kinds of editors. So they might look, you could get what's called a developmental edit, which is essentially like the overview of your story, what you could add, the actual real bones, the plot holes, what's missing, what you want to add more of, maybe rearranging some things, more of like the overall picture of your story in a developmental edit. So you could go with someone like that, also a thing that I offer, or just getting friends and beta readers to read through your manuscript and sort of just start getting that overview of, I think, what you're missing mostly, because in the rough draft there's probably going to be some plot holes, there's probably going to be places where you can add detail. If your dialogue's really weird, you know, they'll be able to see that and just start getting feedback before you dive into the second draft, and really give it some time to sit. I would say maybe 2 months is like a good estimate of, you know, letting people have enough time to read it, getting those reviews and feedback back from everybody, and then really looking at everything and reading the story over yourself before you compile like maybe a note of all the changes you want to make and anything you want to add, looking at the outline again, and then after the 2 to 3 month mark, you dive back in and do your second draft. And I think that would be a really good overall like plan of attack for your plain first draft. I also think this is probably a very important time to start growing your social media and finding the readers that are going to read and buy your book. So that's obviously a very important part. No author is complete without their readership. So I think if you've gotten that far, that you've completed a manuscript, I think you're in a safe space to start promoting yourself on social media. I see a lot of writers that are very worried about social media. They're almost like frightened of, they don't want to promote before they have a book out, but you can't put a book out if you don't have readers. So you need to start growing that social media as soon as humanly possible. And if you just look at the writing community here on Instagram, I mean, I've found a lot of really great people through the writing community here, and there's so many. Like, don't be shy if you're still writing. There's no reason. Like, you're sharing that journey, and that's one of the classic marketing tips is even if you're just getting started, the journey is enough for so many people. Like, people love that growth. People want to see your path to, I just started my plot all the way to publication day. Like, anybody that follows all the way from day one to publication day, they're going to buy the book. They're going to pre-order the book with the supreme package of the bookmark and the signed copy and all that. So if you can hook somebody on day one, here's my plot, and bring them along with you to publication day, you're set. Like, those are the readers that you want. Those are the readers that you really need as a self-published author. And actually, as a traditionally published author, like I said, a lot of people have come to me like they're not sure if they should start promoting very early for their writing. And I wasn't really sure of this myself, but I was considering it, and I got some confirmation of this the other day. I was on Twitter, and an author actually said that they were in the querying process, and they got I'm going to show my cat here. She's so cute. They got not a rejection, but they were in the process of talking to an agent, and then the agent ended up rejecting them because their social media following was not there, not where they wanted it to be, which was really interesting because, again, I've gotten this, worry from a lot of aspiring authors where they don't want to start promoting themselves too early. And apparently it's something that more and more publishers are looking for, because if they can see, that's just more backing for them that your story is going to do well, because at the end of the day, they're a business and they want to make sure that they're buying a viable product, because that's what they're doing. They're buying a product from you, and they're taking on all the risk to sell your product and promote it and publish it. So the more of a following that you already have, that they can see a record of, hey, these people love this author and they're going to want to buy this book when it's out, they're going to be more likely to pick up the book. And a lot of the times now they are asking for your social media. They do want to know where you're at in the universe of online. So I think, back to the question, if you've gotten that far where you have a first draft, there's no reason you shouldn't be pushing as hard as you possibly can on social media, whether you're going to go traditional or self-published, because publishers want to see it, and if you're self-publishing, you have to have it. You need to market. You're starting a business. You need to have clients and readers. So that would be my main tip for if you are at the manuscript process. Next question. This is a little bit different. Rosie Closey, Music Freaks. She's so sweet. Thank you for submitting these questions. They're a little bit more on the personal side, but I thought that was fun. So you guys can maybe just get to know me a little bit more. She asked a bunch, so I'm just going to go through them quickly. What's your favorite book? It is a close tie between Dune and Alice in Wonderland. How many writers have I helped? I have worked with over 5 authors so far. Oh, your cat. Well, my cat's right here too, so that's perfect. 5 authors I have worked with to get their books published, and also sort of including myself, something I'm working on in the future. So I would say 6 to 7, plus a plethora that I've just helped on smaller scales with social media and just free advice and help and stuff. Who inspired me to start all of this? Joe. If you guys don't know Joe Ballin Writer, that is my boyfriend, and he is an author. He gave me the opportunity to start because he was the one, sort of going back to what I said earlier, if you can get free people, like friends, to help you, he asked me to edit his first book. And that just sort of, this like floodgates opened after that. But what really inspires me to keep going is my mom. My mom was an author, she was a poet, she wrote awesome stuff, but never got the chance to publish anything. She was always really afraid of publishing. I barely even read her stuff. I read a lot of her poetry, but her actual like stories and novels that she was writing, she never really got a lot of them fully finished. And she had a lot of fear of rejection, a lot of anxiety, and I think that maybe in another world with self-publishing, she would have been able to get that stuff out there. And I feel that way with a lot of people. My brother was also very influential. He's a writer also, sci-fi guy, and he's done some self-publishing. We're not really involved with his stuff, not yet anyway. I'm waiting for the day when I'm going to publish my brother's books. But yeah, my mom is a big inspiration of like the motivation behind it, that I think that, you know, if she had had some other options, she could have gotten her books finished and out there. Then she says, how was I when I was a kid? I don't know how to answer this exactly. I think I was a weird kid. I got in a lot of fights actually when I was little. Not the best upbringing, I don't know. I was like a little wild animal, I felt like, when I was a child. I was always out of the house. I was always getting into mischief and wandering the neighborhood and everything. But then I leveled out in my later years of high school. Where do I live? I currently live, well, I was living in Denver. I guess I wrote Denver for some reason. Now I live a little further up north in Colorado by Fort Collins, but I grew up in Austin, Texas, which is an awesome place. I love it. My favorite food is probably pad thai recently. I've been making a lot of pad thai, or eggs, like any egg, any breakfast kind of thing. I love scrambled eggs, just classic, with toast and some salsa or something. And then she says, when did you start? Technically, I started in 2019 when I first edited Joe's book, Unkillable Joe. That was in the winter of 2019. And then I officially made Ninth House Media into an LLC last summer in 2020. So August, September 2020. So that was a big milestone. When I registered this as an LLC, that was the proudest day when I got that stuff back, all my paperwork back. That was really cool. So thank you, Rosie Closey Music Freaks, for your questions and for all your support and helping out. Okay, I need another breath and drink some more coffee. How's everybody doing? We're going to take a quick mini pause. How are you doing? I have my cat down here again. I'll try and show her. She's just laying on my lap. Oh my gosh. Hi, baby. Hi. Can you say hello to all the people? The internet people? She's purring so loud right now. Oh my gosh. She was in trouble this morning, so I think that's why she's trying to be nice now. Sitting on my lap. Okay. Let's see. So we're about halfway through. I was really very pleased with the response from my post the other day. So thank you again for everybody that's here, everybody that has followed along. If you would like to help, even if you're not an author or anything, if you would just share some of my posts with a friend, a writer, a poet, I'd really love to work with someone on a book of poetry. That would be, I guess, maybe like a goal for 2021. If I could find somebody who wants to put out a book of poetry, I would love that. I think that would be really fun to format and put that together. And I just love poetry, of course, who doesn't? So if you know anybody, please share this page, share any of my posts if they made you laugh. I put out this very silly meme the other day, so I think I like that you guys enjoyed that. Just trying some different stuff on social media and having fun with it. So if you are enjoying this and getting anything out of these answers, please just share this. Share this with somebody that you think would also get something out of it. So we'll show the cat one more time, and then we will get back to the questions. Now she's down there. Hi, baby. You're purring so loudly. What are you doing? Can you look over here at your pupil? Okay. Cute. Okay. Back to it. Where were we? Okay. So, back to morality in horror. She asked a couple questions, and thank you so much, aka Mona Kabani. I read her book earlier this year, The Bell Chime, which was really cool and very, very creepy. It seeped its way into my nightmares, which is always like a good sign for a book, but also terrible. So it's hard for me, like I love horror, but it's hard for me to like find the time to sit down and read a scary story, because most of the time I want to read before bed, but if I read a scary story right before bed, I know it's going to get in my dreams, which it did, so good job. Morality in Horror asked, or said, she said she noticed a lot of people ask about how to match up with an editor. Can you cover networking, forums for contacts, and things like that? Also, ISBNs and the difference between the KDP assigned ISBN and buying one. Super, super good question. Very, very important to know the differences there. So first we'll get with the networking and finding an editor. I got cat hair on me. So I would say there's a couple different ways, and obviously social media is a huge part of that. And through my personal experience, I would say Twitter has a very large writing community, of course. I mean, everybody's on Twitter. But I would say on Instagram, I've had a lot better luck of actually creating a relationship with the people. On Twitter, maybe it's like just too quick to really feel like I know anybody or make friends there, but I really haven't developed a deeper connection with anybody through Twitter. I do have a decent following there, and it's very active, but at the same time it feels like kind of shallow sometimes. Like it's just a lot of retweet and, you know, writers lift, you know, follow for follow kind of stuff. Like they follow and follow back, but not the best engagement. So I would say if you want to start a writing account, not me, yeah, I don't know, Twitter's always been a hard one for me to like do anything with. I don't know. But on Instagram, I would say I've met a lot of really great people, and they feel more like friends on Instagram. Maybe it's the photo thing, maybe it's because you can write longer captions and it's more like a blog kind of style or microblogs, but I feel like a genuine friendship with some of the people on Instagram, which I have zero from Twitter. Also on Instagram, there's a lot of challenges, which are really fun. There's hashtag challenges, there's writers challenges. Stop it, animal, no. My cat is like going crazy. She's trying to bite the phone stand. Honey, this is why. Don't have pets or children. Anyway, no. She's biting everything. You're ruining my live stream, honey. Or are you making it better? Are you just trying to entertain the people? I think she's just trying to be entertaining. Okay. Back to where we were now that she's going to settle back down. What was I going to say? Okay, so I think there's just a warmer community is maybe the better term for it. On Instagram, there's always hashtags like, oh, there's some from this year, like Write Your Novel 2021 is a good challenge. I found some people, I don't remember the hashtag, but maybe that's the hashtag, but 100 Acre Books is an account that I started following recently. She's doing a writing challenge and get to know the author kind of challenges. And then Facebook groups is probably my second one. So Twitter, I would say, meh, you gotta get on Twitter just to be there, but I wouldn't expect to find a great network there of like deeper connections. Instagram, you're gonna get very deep connections and really niche down. You know, if you're like a horror fan, the horror community is amazing on Instagram, especially. Fantasy, sci-fi, like you can really kind of like get into your niche and find people that way. And then Facebook, again, we kind of like took a big break from Facebook, and I'm slowly getting back into Facebook, but on a less personal note. It's mostly just for to have the business pages up and running, and get into some groups possibly. So I would say Facebook groups is probably pretty good, and also Goodreads is probably a really underutilized website for authors and writers. You can start promoting your book before it's done. I think you just have to have like a cover, even just like a sample. You can have what's called an ARC cover, which is not the official final cover, but it's like your early release cover. So you can put up your book and just start promoting it before then. If you like to read, which a lot of authors do, you can read and leave reviews, and there's groups there too. And there's a lot of author groups on Goodreads. So I think that could be a really good place to meet people and network. And I would just say through that, like, you're gonna just naturally develop some connections with people, and you gotta just ask, you know, like, don't be shy. You gotta ask if somebody seems, you know, interested, and it'll probably come up naturally in your conversations, like, hey, I'm writing my book. And the other person is like, oh wow, hey, would you like a beta read? You know, like, a lot of people will just offer it. So I would say get in the community, Instagram, Facebook, Goodreads. There was another one. Oh, NaNoWriMo is a really fun one, and that is, I mean, it's open all the time technically, but it stands for National Novel Writing Month, and that is in the month of November. So every November, everybody gets together and they try and write a whole novel, 50,000 words. So that's a really great community to be a part of, even if you're not going to like really try the NaNoWriMo challenge. It's just a really great and positive community of uplifting authors and writers and aspiring writers, and their page and their website looks like a really great community to be a part of. And I'm sure they have Facebook groups. And you keep biting me, stop it. I love NaNoWriMo, Hefboy Hal. Yeah, I think it's really great. I haven't tried it officially myself. I'm still not sure about my own authorship. But I think it's just a really great community. From the people that I have connected with through there, it's a really nice community. And I would say just make friends, make some genuine connections, find people in your niche, and it should just come up naturally. You know, don't force it on people. Don't be weird and be like, hey, read my book. Especially if you're not offering money, if it's like a free thing, don't be weird. Don't pressure people. I would say let it come up naturally. Also, if you have a website, you know, it's always good to have your email list. Fiverr, if you want to just find like a quick, you know, copy editor, just make sure, you know, they're actually going to be really good at it. If you want to just like, you know, not find a person, there's like personal editors, and I think Morality in Horror has a really great one. She has an actual like solid connection with her editor. So I think that could really help. If you find somebody that has like a deep connection with you and you actually become friends, that could be really beneficial versus just like a random copy editor that you hire off of Fiverr. So I would say take your time with it, and you know, just make friends. I think the writing community on Instagram is great. As for her second question, this is a really, really good one, and it can be kind of a daunting area for self-publishing. It's ISBNs, and what is the difference between the KDP ISBN and buying your own? So if you don't know what I'm talking about, ISBN, and I should have a book next to me, but it's basically on the back of the book, the barcode, that little like 13-digit number, is essentially, I would say, like your social security number for your book. So it kind of, in that code, it keeps all of your details for your book. It's like a bookstores can use it, libraries can use it. It puts it into this huge database, makes it so you can sell in different places. They can scan the barcode. Basically, it's like, yeah, it's a social security number for your book. You need it in order to be able to sell your book and promote it to the best and widest audience. Now, and it stands for International Standard Book Number. So it's not just in America, it's every country uses this, standardized number system, and it's just professional, You can put out a book without one. It's not like a legal requirement in the United States, I believe. I think in some places it is a legal requirement, but it's not required here. Like, I've been to events where authors are just like selling their book, and you don't have to have one if you're just printing them out yourself and selling them at events. But if you want to get into bookstores, libraries, other websites, it's just easier and better to have an ISBN. Now, on Amazon, if you're just going the Amazon route and you're just putting out a book, kind of the free-ish route of publishing on Amazon through their KDP system, which is Kindle Direct Publishing, they will assign you a free ISBN. And actually, they used to be like one of the few ones, but it seems like more and more websites are assigning free ISBNs to publishers. Now, this sounds really good, but it can also kind of hold you back in some ways. And in the end, it's always going to be better to try and buy your own. They can be a little bit pricey, but I pulled it up here on Bowker. And it also seems like kind of confusing, because when you look up ISBNs, you can find a bunch of websites where they're selling like cheap ones, but I have seen reviews where the people that buy these cheap discounted ISBNs end up having all these problems. So I would say it can be super tempting, because one ISBN is $125. And if you are, just bootstrapping this and you're a self-published author, that can be a lot of money to dish out for something that doesn't seem like it's just a number on the back of my book. Like, it doesn't really, I don't know, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it kind of is. So one ISBN is $125, but if you go through Bowker, you can get 10 ISBNs for $295. So if you're going to buy one, I would say try and save up and buy the set of 10, because technically what you want is an ISBN for the audiobook, an ISBN for the print, and an ISBN for the ebook. So each one will have its own different ISBN, and you can just use them like they're kind of like you just have them. And you can save, like if you only use 3 of them, you can save the other 7 for your next book, if that makes sense. Like, they don't expire, you don't have to assign them all immediately, you just have the rights to those 10 ISBNs and you can use them when you need to. It even says it right here, I'm looking at the website, it says ISBNs never expire, use them as needed. Oh my gosh, and it says it right here too. So for one ISBN, like I said, it's $125, but when you buy the bulk of 10, you're buying each ISBN for $29.50 each, which is that's a huge discount. That's crazy. And then if you're really going crazy, or you're starting your own indie publishing house, like this is what I should probably do for my business in the future, whenever I get the money. You can get 100 for $575 and 1,000 for $1,500. Blocks of 1,000 are generally purchased by independent or small publishers. It's sufficient for publishing multiple versions of approximately 200 books. So 100 for publishing 4 and up books. That would be awesome. I should have, that's one thing I wish I would have done when I was starting out, is probably buy one of these when I had the extra dough to throw around. So it doesn't hurt you though necessarily. I guess the only drawbacks are if you're just publishing on Amazon and people are buying from the Amazon storefront or downloading it on Kindle, you don't really need your own ISBN, but the main differences are, I guess when you buy one, you can set it up to say published by whatever. So I would say whenever somebody searches for the book, the metadata would show that it's published by Ninth House Media. I can set that for all the ISBNs. But on Amazon, if you use their ISBN, it says it's self-published. You can't change the metadata. It will always show up as self-published or possibly published by Amazon. You also can't use the Amazon ISBN to sell to bookstores. Bookstores aren't going to order from Amazon to get your book. I don't know how that works about like selling to bookstores on consignment. If they would, I think some smaller bookstores probably would and they wouldn't care. But it would be better to go through Ingram Spark. Like if your goal is to get into bookstores and libraries, and this will be a whole another thing because Ingram Spark is a totally different subject, but you can buy ISBNs through them too, and it's a little bit cheaper, I think, and I should have gotten that pulled up. But it shows up as your own, like you're buying them at a discount from Ingram Spark, but it works as your own ISBN, if that makes sense. It doesn't show that it's published by Ingram Spark. It works like a normal ISBN. And Ingram is essentially just a distribution service, but it's like the professional one. So if you want to get into bookstores, if you want to sell to libraries, you should purchase your own ISBN and go through Ingram Spark. But if you just want to sell on your own through Amazon, do that. You don't need to purchase a separate ISBN. They'll assign it to you. So it's really, I mean, it's nice to get the free ISBN, and we've definitely used that on several of our books, just because budget requirements. But if you have the money for it, I would say buy your own ISBN. Let's see. What is next? Oh, that was another part of that last question. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. When you buy your own ISBNs, like I said, you can put basically your own publishing house in that. And that's kind of what I did with Ninth House Media. First, it was just like a name, but then I decided to register it and be able to work with other authors as a publisher. Not a lot, I would say, but several self-published authors have gone this route where you turn your self-publishing author business into a publishing house. And they can basically, like, say, for example, I'm the author, but I start the business Ninth House Media. And I will publish my novel published under Ninth House Media. And that's my LLC, that's my publishing press, or imprint is what it's called on Ingram. So I'm making an imprint, a publishing imprint for my business, and then under that, I can now take in new authors for my publishing house, if that makes sense. So if you're going for that kind of route of a more professional looking, making your own publishing house and publishing your books under your publishing house, you're going to want to buy your own ISBNs. So next question is from Elizabeth Suggs, author. She says, why is marketing so important? How do you find ARC readers? And what is the best way for new authors to get the word out? So I will take another beverage. Thank you guys for sticking around. I just have a couple more questions left, and gonna be wrapping it up kind of soon here. But like I said, this will be up on my page. So if you missed the beginning or any of the questions or want to be able to jump around, I will have this up. Also, I'm going to try and turn some of these answers into some more like digestible, just an Instagram post or carousel, maybe a blog, or just some shorter form content, because I know this was a lot for one video, and it's a lot to go through. So I will be taking these answers and this inspiration to be putting out some short form content in the future here. So you will see all of this again somewhere in the future if this was like a lot to digest in one sitting. So marketing. Going back to my example from earlier, if you guys missed it, I was on Twitter the other day, and this woman posted that she got a response from an agent who was very, very interested in her book, but they ended up rejecting her in the end because her social media following was not where they thought it should be, or not where they wanted it to be. Now, I think this is becoming more and more common in the future. It's 2021. Social media is like everything now, especially, we don't really have author events going on the same way. It's just such a part of every single business out there is social media marketing. So even more and more traditional publishers want to see that you have a strong social media following. And that doesn't mean like 1 million followers. I would think, I should have looked at her page. I'm sorry I didn't do that actually, because I should be interested to see what her following was. On Twitter it's probably decent, but I see a lot of authors that don't have a great Instagram following, and I'm one of those people. I don't have the craziest following here on my 9th House Media page, but it takes a while. But yeah, so they rejected her because they wanted to see her with a stronger social media following, which I thought was really interesting. And the comments were a little bit of both. Some people were saying that's normal. They want you to promote the book just as much as they do. It creates a stronger end product if they can see that you have a track record and you already have fans and followers that are ready to buy your book. So it just makes a more attractive product for a publisher to buy if you have a good social media following. So even if you're not self-publishing, I would say you have to have at least a couple thousand followers on Instagram, and good engagement. So the engagement is a little bit different than your actual followers, because there's pages like, I read something the other day, like a lot of the top pages, like Kim Kardashian for example, she's got a bajillion followers. 46 or 40 something % of her followers are all bots and fake. So numbers don't necessarily translate always to buyers and readers and real followers. There's a couple different ways that you can find out your engagement. Instagram actually added it. If you have a business page, you can just go to your insights and find the engagement for each post and sort it through that and see which posts are getting the most engagement. And engagement basically means anything from, it's like the total aggregate of everything that's going on with your post. So it's saves, it's comments, it's likes, it's follows, it's kind of all of that put together. Shares is another big one that's really important. So if you are getting people engaging on your post, that's actually that can overshadow a low follower count. You know what I'm saying? So if you only have like 1,000 followers, but your engagement rate is like 10%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's actually really high. In all my research and social media stuff, the average engagement of like a social media influencer is between like 1% and 3%. So if you can break over 3 to 5%, that's actually decent. And if you're getting that 5% or more engagement, you're doing actually really good. So don't worry about the numbers so much, but if you can work on that engagement, so asking questions, call to action, getting stuff that people can share and save, all of that stuff is going to be really important. And also video content. Reels is really popular now, almost more than TikTok. It's kind of like a little bit easier to do than TikTok, or at least like break into. So Reels are really important, TikTok, videos, YouTube, stuff like that. Basically, it's like any business. Every single business needs to be marketed. Kimmy, you say, what? Finish your sentence. Yes, any business needs to be marketed. Whether you're selling ice cream or you're selling shoes or you're selling books. It needs to have a market. You need to have provable, and I don't know, that's not a really great word, but provable, measurable people in your readership. You know, they need to see that you are going to be able to sell. So definitely very important. As for finding advanced readers, I would say, again, it's about getting that community together and finding the people that are really going to like be your fans. Let me see, sorry. Really, that engagement and genuine friendship, genuine community is going to be really important for your advanced readers. And ARC stands for Advanced Reader Copies. So essentially, you're going to send out advanced reader copies before your book is officially for sale. And that will help you in a lot of ways for promoting. If you send it to book reviewers and book pages, they will be able to show it to their fans and followers, who will in turn want to buy your book, hopefully. And also, if you send it to book reviewers and book pages, they will be able to show it to their fans and followers, who will in turn want to buy your book, hopefully. And also, if you send it to book reviewers and book pages, they will be able to show it to their fans and followers, who will in turn want to buy your book, hopefully. You get reviews early on, so like by day one you have like proof that the book is good. You want to get that 4 and 5 star reviews, and I think that really comes from the networking. Getting those people, again, when you look into your engagement on social media, finding the people that are commenting all the time, finding the people that are constantly engaging in your DMs, talking to you, and you have to reach out to them too. Don't just expect everybody to come to you. Like, you need to be in people's DMs. Like, it's not a joke. Be in their DMs, slide into those DMs, and talk to people. Get that conversation started about anything, really. Comment on people's posts, like, be engaging yourself if you want to get that engagement back. And through that, you will find the people. They'll probably even, like I said with the editor, it'll come up naturally in conversation. You'll make a post about, I'm halfway through my manuscript, I'm so excited, blah, blah, blah. Or I just got my cover done, I can't wait to release it, blah, blah, blah. Those super fans are going to comment and say like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. You know, they'll probably message you asking if you're going to do advanced reader copies. They will reach out to you if you have developed a little bit of that bond. So it'll come up naturally, I think. Also, again, Goodreads, any community, you know, just reach out to people, if you're following book pages that seem to read and review a lot of books that jive with like your book that you're coming out with or your genre, reach out to reviewers that could do that. Some of them are going to want to be paid. So be ready for that. Don't be shocked when people want to get paid for their time, because it's not just their time, like they're marketing for you. At the end of the day, like if they post a nice photo with a review of their book on their social media platform that has 10,000 followers, that's an advertisement. They're advertising for you. So consider that into your marketing strategy, and any advertising money that you set aside. Think about like social media influencer advertising and being able to pay some people for their posts. And that's not bad, especially if they're like really engaged and it's not, again, those fake bots. You want to see a page where they're getting good engagement and it's like a real person. I don't like those pages where it's just like a bunch of books, and I wouldn't go with one of those. I would go with someone that's like got some real personality and that's like a human being behind the books. Also, your email list, build up your email list. That's going to be really important. And what is the best way for new authors to get the word out? Yes, so all of that, what I just said. Then there's going to be blogs, websites. BookBub is a program/service where they will advertise your book to their readership. There's a ton of stuff like that, more than I can go into just verbally in this video. But there's so much. You can just go classic Facebook and Instagram paid advertisements to get the word out, and just growing and being really engaged in that community is, you know, that never fails. It's just being engaged. Also, some different stuff, virtual events, AuthorTube if you want to share your process on YouTube. That's really popular. Wattpad, you can put some short stories on sites like Wattpad and get your story out there and find readers that way. And again, in all your stories, you want to have some sort of way that they can find you, a website, call to action to follow you on Instagram. You should have some sort of website where you can get an email list. That's going to be your best bet at the end of the day. Get a website, get an email list, stop being lazy. Gonna run through the rest of these because I'm ready. My cat's ready. She's trying to get out. Last couple questions from Yannicka Deroy. She says she saw some hashtags on Twitter for Writer's Lift, Writer's Boost. Does this really help you? How important is social media and which platform is best? Also, again, cost of self-pub. We already went over that. And how do you make a marketing plan? So again, Twitter, I've had sort of a weird experience on Twitter. It's okay, there's a big community, you'll definitely get followers, but those Writer's Lift and Writer's Boost, she wanted out, sorry. They seem more self-serving kind of than anything else. Like, you'll get a lot of followers that way, but I don't feel like it's the most engaging platform, or maybe I just haven't had the best luck there. That's my personal experience. I would say it doesn't hurt. I don't know if you're going to get many sales from that, from hashtags like that, Writers Lift, Writers Boost, but you will definitely get a lot of followers, because there's a lot of people in the writing community on Twitter that basically just follow for follow to get their numbers up. So you'll see a lot of them. And I mean, there's debate on whether that's good or not. I've done a lot of that myself. I'm not like, saying that it's bad or you're a bad person if you do that. It's just going back to that engagement. You can have a high follower count, but if it's not translating into great engagement, then you're just kind of wasting your time in a sense. So the number looks good, but you also want to focus on engagement. So I would say more so than just engaging on those hashtags. I would say a little bit of that is probably good, just to like meet people in the community, and you will get followers. But also focus on engagement, actually responding to tweets, retweeting, commenting on people's stuff. I think that's going to be better in the long term. I don't know how many actual readers you get on Instagram, or on Twitter, I'm sorry. I feel like Instagram is better for finding readers. So as far as like what platform is best, I would say Twitter's good to meet other people in the writing community, but Instagram is better to find readers. So I think if I had to choose between the two, that would be how I break it down. Definitely important to have both. I know it can be so time consuming and so annoying to feel like you're probably on social media more than you're writing, but it's just something you gotta do. And if you don't want to do it, you can find someone who will do it for you, and that can be, most likely will be a paid service that will manage your social media for you. But again, if you are investing in this as a super long-term amazing business, might be worth it. If you totally detest social media and you just want like a page out there that's doing its own thing and growing and kind of promoting you on its own, you can probably find like pretty reasonable services out there, either on Fiverr or Media Brands. I was just working with this business a while ago that does social media posting. Like, there's a ton of them out there. So maybe look into that if you're just like not having any luck growing your own social media. It might be time to look into a publicist or a social media managing service that's going to engage on your behalf. But again, you want to make sure like they're doing an actual good job. They're not just like using bot programs or following like random pages in another country that are never going to buy your book. Like, do some research, find somebody that's like a really reputable business, and it might be good to do that. If it's something that you don't have time for or you don't want to put in the time for, maybe $100 a week will get you a decent social media manager and a decent social media following. And how do you make the marketing plan? Now, it definitely depends on what stage you're at, but I would say, let's assume you have like a draft, or you're getting through your first draft. At least 6 months, and you're going to want to write out basically all the steps you're going to have to take to get to the publishing process. And I feel like I'm burning out here, but this is kind of a long answer, and I can't really give like a good, simple, easy answer for this one. Like, I can't make a marketing plan, or probably shouldn't give away those secrets here either. But essentially, there's a few very important steps that you're going to want to take, and kind of estimate through that how long each step is going to take. So you're going to want to finish the book, of course, do 1 or 2 rounds of editing, so that's a couple months each, maybe let's say 1 month, 2 months. So first month, you write the book. If you can do that like NaNoWriMo style, write your first draft, edit it, do another round of edits and get beta readers, get some samples back and start sending them out to advanced readers, and then finish up the publishing and formatting process, get your samples, make sure that is all beautiful and looking good with your cover and everything, and 6, do a bunch of marketing. That's if you had to do like a 6-month plan, that would be my 6-month plan. Save some money to do advertisements, find podcasts and places to get interviewed, blogs, send out your book. You've already done that to, readers and influencers. and then month 6 you can publish. So I think that's like a reasonable amount of time. I wouldn't try and do too much faster than that. You know, I've had a lot of books that we just put out, I think, a little faster than they should have been put out. And that can be really tempting as a self-published author. And that's one of the problems that I've seen, you know, people run into is part of what draws some people to self-publishing is the impatience. Like, they really want to be a traditionally published author, but they don't have the patience to wait years potentially to get published. So they just throw out a book and hope for the best. And that's really not going to work out in the long run. You want at least 3 to 6 months, 3 minimum. 6 months is like a good middle ground. If you can be promoting for an entire year, even probably better. But I think that 6 months is like a good measure of time. So I hope that sort of answered that question. And again, if you want like a more detailed publishing marketing strategy, there's people like me, there's a ton of services online that will help you promote and launch your product. If you don't think or don't want to do it yourself, that's great. Last but not least, what are the benefits of self-publishing? Thank you, Jen Anderson Summers, for this question. I think there's a lot, obviously, which is why I love it. I love self-publishing. I think there's a lot of great benefits to it. I think one of the main things that draws me to it is the entrepreneurship. I love working for myself. I love owning my own business. And anyone else that wants to do that and work in that regard should consider self-publishing, because, and this maybe will go a little bit into the pros and cons. Cons is like, yes, it's a long-term investment, but so is traditionally publishing. You're going to be querying for potentially years. So if time is not an issue, maybe invest in starting your own brand and your own business. You have complete control and ownership over the design, the cover, the formatting, the editing. You own it. You don't have to worry about your book getting frozen. You don't have to worry about not being able to write the series the way you want to write it. I think there's definitely much more control and profits also in self-publishing today, because again, you're starting your own business. You don't have to share royalties with this other company. I mean, you're getting, with a traditional publisher, you're probably getting fractions of what you could potentially earn through self-publishing, and it's actually become so great and so much easier to do that a lot of authors that were traditionally published are actually trending towards going self-published. They're taking their books back, or maybe the next book that they write, they're trying that out. So there's more and more authors that are choosing self-publishing, even who have been traditionally published in the past. And I think that's a really interesting trend that I want to look more into. Because at the end of the day, I guess those are the main 3 things. It's that control, more profit, and it's a long-term investment that you can be really proud of. You know, you're not just, I mean, I'm sure you would be exceptionally proud of getting published. That is great. That's amazing. But depending on the kind of person that you are, if you are an entrepreneur, if you like to have control and do things yourself, you like learning, it's a learning curve. It's a struggle. It's not like get rich quick. It's not, you know, get published overnight. It's starting a business, and businesses on average take 2 years to make profitable, and most fail within the first 2 years. Also, my cat's back. So that's a big thing to consider when you're trying to decide between self-publishing and traditionally publishing. It's that 2 year, can you commit to this for a minimum of 2 years up to the rest of your life, 10 years, you know? So it's a big commitment, but it's one that will definitely pay off in dividends over time. So I think that is about it. And she said, what do I do about my first draft? Again, get with the marketing, start with the editing and getting readers. So that is it for today. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining me and being a part of this, and for everybody who sent in their questions. I hope that I answered them, and keep a lookout for this in some different formats and blogs, possibly newsletter, whatever in the future. So I hope to do this again soon. Thank you guys for joining me, and stay safe. Have a great rest of your day.